I think it was a good thing that took place yesterday for the New York Giants, BT. We've been talking about this. I know we're only 7 weeks into the season, but some of the stuff that reporters were trying to make a big deal of, the circus is going to start, the wheels are going to fall off for the Giants here, and Shane and Daboll. And you and I have discussed whether they should be on the hot seat, whether they could be. I never believed that they would be. Mara came out yesterday, and look, after week one, everything should have been on the table the way that went, but the Giants, settled things down a little bit. Record not what you want. Obviously, this season has not gone the way that the Giants had hoped for. But for me, I believe in Shane and Daboll, and I didn't think there should be a question about their job, certainly not now. Mm-hmm. And the owner came out and basically shot down any of that talk, which I thought was good for this team to have that happen, saying we're not making any changes in season and likely not making any changes after the season. That gives me the confidence in knowing that, okay, these are going to be the two guys for the foreseeable future.
It could be. It might be. I think that John Mara is very committed to ending this merry-go-round of change. I think he's embarrassed by it. I think he is committed to continuity. I really do. I think he wants to reestablish that Giant culture. Last night, to me, is I'm not taking the bait the way some are, because there's a big difference. John Mara, with his own private thoughts, reaching out, Giants PR, hey, set up a press conference. I want to talk about this, and going out there and preemptively maybe taking some of that heat or the noise or just bringing it down a little bit. That's not what happened. John Mara went to the Paley Center, which, by the way, is beautiful. Have you ever been to the Paley Center?
I have. I feel like it was for something Mike
and Chris did something there back
then. Yes, I was there for that.
It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And he was there last night for something that's going to be phenomenal. I believe it airs Friday on the NFL Network about Wellington Mara. And he was asked about this, and he really did want to talk about the movie or the documentary. But, of course, with reporters having access as they do with these events, he was peppered with questions about the future of the Giants, which to me is very different than him saying, all right, this is my team and this is what's happening. Now, it doesn't mean that he's not going to stand by the words that he told us last night through the reporters, but it's less impactful, and I am less inclined to hang on every word literally myself. I'm just not.
So you're not believing it?
It's not that I'm not believing it. I'm not buying it with the...
I mean, he still said
the conviction. I know he
didn't have to. See, Now, there's also, we should say that you, from the beginning, were not defiant and saying that they were going to keep these two guys, and I was.
Correct.
So our beliefs before this
that's true.
Do play a part. Now, I'm going to choose to believe it, and you can choose not to believe it. And by the way, he did leave a little bit open, saying not likely at the end of the year.
Correct.
So maybe our beliefs of what we thought could or would happen factor in here, but I'm going to take him at his word and hope that he is being honest here, because I think it's the best thing for the franchise that he doesn't mess around yet. As a matter of fact, I think he's the one to blame here, because Daniel Jones is the biggest reason why the Giants' record is what it is. But anyway, that's a different conversation. I believe that he could have just said, you know what, we'll see where we're at the year's end, and then leave it up there, and then have the media storm again all year, every week. Oh, is Shane and Daboll going to be on the hot seat?
But I think he's too smart for that. So I think he played it perfectly, where he avoided that circus or furthering the circus. So he at least snuffed that out, and he left the door slightly ajar with his words. He's no dummy. I mean, John Mara's a smart man.
Well, things can change.
That's when he said these. I'm not making any changes this season, and I don't anticipate. Bang. That's the word. So I think about this, Sal. Let's say,
well, if they don't win a game the rest of the year.
Well, think about this. If you're 5-12 or 4-13 or whatever, even if you scratch out 6 wins, but the losses and the optics get worse, and there's 10, 12, 15,000 empty seats in December, and the other team's fan bases infiltrate the stadium, and Jones gets benched, and Drew Lock has nothing, and DeVito, it doesn't work, and it's just gross. If he were to make a move and fire either one or two of the people that we're talking about, he can always say, if he's pushed, yeah, but you told us in late October at the Paley Center that you weren't going to make changes. No. What I said was, I didn't anticipate making any changes, but the circumstances that presented themselves since have forced me to change my mind.
Right.
Doors open.
Right, but in your circumstance, the hypothetical that you put out there, 5 or 6 wins, whatever. See, I don't think there's any way that they would fire either of these two guys in that scenario. I do think where you have to leave some room open is, hey, if we don't win a game the rest of the year and get blown out and badly embarrassed the rest, it's still a long season. We played 7 games so far.
A lot of football.
There's a lot of football. So you can't say definitively they're going to be back when you don't know. But the way that I would take it is that a lot of people have already taken Shane and Daboll's record and what they've done into account in saying that it might be time for a change. There are some people that believe that that's the case. I believe with Mara that what he's seen so far, that's not anywhere near enough to have him make a change. And I don't believe he anticipates that it's going to get to a point where he does need to make a change. But you leave it open a little bit just in case they don't win the rest of the way. Let's say they end up with 3 wins and are getting blown out the majority of the season. Then it might be a little bit of a different story. Like, as much as I love Daboll and believe in Daboll and believe that Mara's belief in Daboll is legit and real and it should be, and that's the best thing for the franchise, even I would say you still need to see it play out just because in the event that it does get to rock bottom. But I'm not talking 5 wins. I'm not talking 6 wins, something like that. I'm talking like they don't win a game or maybe win a game the rest of the way.
Maybe the Carolina game, and that's it.
Yeah,
I think they're going to win more than that, by the way. Not many, to your point.
And so do I, and probably so does he, which is why he says I don't anticipate it, because I don't think it's going to get to a point where it's going to be an embarrassing level where it should clean out.
You might be right. Listen, it has been embarrassing for a while. I mean, the Giants right now are on track for their 10th losing season in 12 years. And, think about just a little snapshot of Mara here, because that's what we're talking about. It ended very ugly with Coughlin. We will never forget that icy.
That was a bad mistake, man. That was the beginning of the mistake.
It really was. And even if you could justify the move, which I kind of understood to an extent, the way it ended was ugly for a 2-time champion Hall of Famer. So
that was Jerry Reese, too. I think he had his hands on that one. Just
he may have.
Time to move on and go with McAdoofus. Imagine that, firing Coughlin or moving on from Coughlin. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying McAdoofus didn't have some idea of what he wanted.
Well, he wanted to get Mahomes.
Well,
he wanted to get Pat Mahomes. He had some good visions.
Right, but the timing of it was bad, and they really did it because they were afraid he was going to go to the Eagles.
Correct.
Which was even worse.
Yeah, so the execution played out very poorly. Just that image of Coughlin walking off the stage and icily staring at Mara, that's seared into every Giants fans and football fans' mind, number one. So then you bring in McAdoo. I almost called him McAdoofus.
It's easy to say. It rolls off the tongue.
Because I never hear you say it right. Although, so it's become right at this point. It's back.
It is
McAdoo. Oh, my God, it's funny. I laugh every time I hear that. So that was less than 2 years. And then you had Shermer, and you had Joe Judge, and that was 2 years. And Joe Judge talked himself out of the job. Now,
I liked Joe Judge, too, at the time.
I did, too. I remember that's when Tiki and I just started at WFAN, and because we started January a couple of years ago. And, I didn't love Judge, but I'm like, there was something I wanted to roll back once more. And then he kept talking and kept talking and the press conferences were getting more and more, derailed. I'm like, and we just came to the conclusion. Even Tiki, as a general, we're like, this got to end, right? So it did. So I know that Mara is intensely motivated to end this carousel of quick hires and sloppy hires and hasty fires. That's got to end. My question is this. Is he more committed in his and I don't know the answer, I'm asking you.
Right.
In his convictions to his true, unrelenting, undying football belief in the 2 men he currently has employed in the GM and head coach? Is that it? Or is it partially that and really more so he just doesn't want, he wants to stop firing people?
Right.
I don't know the answer.
I think it's both.
I don't know. I surmise that it's both. I think that you're right. I think it's both.
He also said that last night, too. We all hang on the money quote, but he also said that he learned from watching the film about his father, like he needs to be more patient.
He did.
But you have to, like, we could just say, wow, he's been so impatient over the last, however, the last decade, whatever it is, since the Coughlin stuff, since they went with McAdoofus and then, the Gettleman or whatever, all that stuff. But there might have been legit reason to think, hey, Joe Judge, like maybe he wanted to be patient with Joe Judge, but he realized, I can't. He's not the right guy. This is not the right time to be patient. Where, wouldn't you say, at the very least, BT, there's still an unknown here to what this regime could do. Like, it's year 3. How do you properly judge a general manager in just 2.5 years?
It's very, very hard.
Okay.
And further complicated by the fact that they had a really good season a couple of years ago. Unexpectedly good.
Like, if I were to tell you, let's flip it around. Let's say that the Giants started the way this Shane and Daboll regime started last year was their first year.
Meaning a bad start.
Yeah,
and now you pick up to a wild card.
Or even year 2 was like we're seeing now, but year 3 was what happened in the real first
in 2022.
Year. We'd be like, oh my God, well they made the playoffs. Like
yes, because that's the conventional ascension as you build a program. And we'd be psyched up.
Correct.
We'd be excited.
So forget the traditional way to do it, the build up.
Yeah.
The reality is in the 3 years they've been here, 2.5, whatever it's been now, there's plus the 7 weeks that we're counting, they made the postseason already once. So that's at least a positive thing. And for me, that's more about the coach than it was the general manager, which is why I always say I believe, and I think you could find out more about the coach in a year, 2 years, certainly 3 years, than you can about the general manager. It takes time. So if I believe in the coach, and I somewhat believe in Shane, while there have been some blatantly, obviously misses,
Evan Neal.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's been some total bust, but there's also been some good with Shane. And I just think you need more time to figure that out. The biggest problem that I have with this damn regime is Daniel Jones. And I said this at the time. When Shane and Daboll took over, they should have moved on from Jones. So
the owner wouldn't let him.
Okay, so is their biggest problem that they don't have the right GM, that they don't have the right head coach, or that they don't have the right quarterback?
You want my honest answer?
Yes.
Of the first two, I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know they've got the wrong quarterback. That everybody knows that, except even I think at this point, Maverick has to know that. So we all know that. Do they have the right GM? I don't know, and I don't know if they have the right coach. How I've answered that question every other time it comes up is I've got a little more belief in the head coach than the GM, but that's starting to dwindle a little bit.
I would have liked to have seen. Now again, it's tough because the record is what it is, but I would have liked to have seen or heard Mara say, "This is my coach." For me, that would be my. Now, again, he's got to back it up with the damn results. It's annoying because they shouldn't be 2-5. They should be better than that. So his record is not good. But I believe Daboll is my coach. I want Brian Daboll to be the coach of this team moving forward. Shane, I need to still see. But
he can't say that. Yeah. If he says that, that's almost more damaging.
No, I know. But
pump it up, Daboll. You could,
saying
but
me,
the moment.
I'm saying me personally.
I got you. So
I meant the definitive part would be we're not making a change.
Let's role play. Hey, John, the film was fantastic. Great to see. I know it's a rough start here for the Giants. There's a lot of talk about the future, John, as you're well aware of the head coach and the general manager. Can you guide Giant fans? What are you thinking about their future? Are you fully all in on both of those men?
Yeah, I'm terribly disappointed that the record is what it is. It's been infuriating to watch the last several years, more so even the last decade or so. But I firmly believe that these guys that we hired a couple years ago that already had some success taking them to the postseason, taking this franchise to the postseason and winning a road playoff game, I believe they will get this turned around, and I'm going to be patient this time with these two guys because I wholeheartedly believe they're the right guys to lead us out of this bad rut that we're in.
Do you believe in them enough to give them another 2 to 3 years to develop a quarterback and go from there, which would equate to basically 6 years?
I think they need to have a little more time to turn this thing around.
Now it's me again.
It's
a BS answer. But hold on a second. Now think about this. I do like what you said to start. Definitive. You identify Daboll. You identify Shane.
I can't get into the quarterback. If it were me, Mara's not going to say it, but if for me, I'd be like, I think the quarterback play has been atrocious.
Oh, yeah, no. If it was me, I'd be much more raw as well. But we're not.
What he should be saying is,
what we do.
Now, what he should be saying is, how do you expect these guys to win when the quarterback sucks?
Well, he can't say that because he's the one who wanted to extend the quarterback, so he's got to protect himself.
And he can't fire himself.
No, but I think you're onto something. The fact that, yes, he's in the middle of the road. He did say, I'm not making any changes right now, but he didn't say that because, at least what he projected verbally, he's got unwavering conviction in those men.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not making changes. He could have gone 2-3 steps more and still left the door ajar at the end of the season, but been more supportive. That's why I'm not listen, Sal, and we'll get these calls coming up. I'm not sitting here saying John's a liar. I would never say that, unless I really truly thought he was a liar. I don't. I think he's a good man. I think he's had some great moments as an owner and a lot of bad ones. I think he's in a tough spot, complicated by an overachievement in year one. I'm less committed to both of them as you are. I think he's more with you. I really do, and less what I think. But I do think that there's a chance if this unravels, both will be gone.
BT and Sal on the Fan. Our friends at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Mike is in Goshen, Connecticut. What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's going on, guys? BT and Sal, how you guys doing?
Good. What's up?
Hey, Mike.
Here's the thing with Shane and Daboll. They inherited a quarterback, right? Yeah. So you only can judge their merits on them taking their own quarterback and developing them. That's my point number one. Point number two is the better their record is this year, ironically puts them in a bad position to get that quarterback. So, to have things turn around this year is actually going to be a detriment to us because we're going to have a worse pick for the quarterback. Then Daniel Jones lings over us. There has to be it almost has to be, you don't want to say tank. You can't do that, but you have to understand the situation the Giants are in. The better draft pick they have, that's going to be the betterment for the team going forward. So, it's really a tough spot for them, but I think you only can judge their success based on their own quarterback because right now, Daniel Jones is not their quarterback, either of them.
Thank you for the call.
Yeah.
But the problem is, and this is where I have an issue with this regime, they chose this quarterback when they didn't have to. Now, you want to say that the owner forced his hand a little bit,
or at least had influence.
I can't totally absolve.
I'm with you,
Shane and Daboll from choosing this quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
They had a decision to make. If it were me, I would have wanted a fresh start with the quarterback. I think they were leaned on their first year. Hey, let's see if we could get this kid right. In part, maybe why Mara hired Daboll was to get some Josh Allen out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? He did in year one. And because of that success, like everybody talks about, last year winning the 6 games, or if this year it's going to hurt their. No, the first year's success really screwed them up because that made them then believe further in Daniel Jones to the point where Shane gave him the contract. That's why we're here. I fundamentally agreed that I would like to see this regime draft their own quarterback. By the way, they could have done that a year ago. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to give up what it would have taken. You can't just lose and be in other teams have found franchise quarterbacks, BT, without having a top 3 pick.
Oh, look at Mahomes. Look at Josh Allen.
Right.
That's all. I mean, we could do a show on that.
Right. The Giants could have had Josh Allen, by the way.
I know. See, but this is the Giants situation is so different from certainly the Jets and others around football. There's not chaos. There's times and there's periods with, Ray Handley, even at the end of Coughlin, certainly with Judge. And McAdoo. I mean, it just feels chaotic. There's no control, there's no direction. Everybody's going in a different direction, and there's no connectivity. And that's when somebody's got to go. That's not the case. But what complicates this is if you roll it back with these two gentlemen, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I'm less confident than you are, but I'm not saying that they're absolutely not the right guys. I just don't know. But if you do roll it back, you don't roll it back for another year. Now it's 2, 3, or 4 because you're going to get the quarterback. This year you're going to have to move up. You got to move mountains to get a quarterback, and they will. And now 3 years that they've been here at the end of this year, then whatever quarterback you get, it's got to be 2.5, 3 years. Now it's 5, 6 years, and I still don't know what's 5. Is it 5 or 6 years for the right people? I don't know. It's a long commitment to people that I'm not sure. Even though I think they could be, I'm not sure.
This is why I hated the Malik Neighbors pick. It was never about Neighbors. It was about they need a quarterback. How many years are we going to sit here with the same damn thing?
God, it gets old, doesn't it? It gets so old.
It's been old. I remember screaming about this when I was part-time on the overnight, let alone the full-time overnight. He ain't it. But yet the owner thought he was it. Then this regime had him forced on him. They had some success. They give him the contract. And here we are now, year 3 of this regime with Daniel Jones going into year 4 saying, well, they need their quarterback. Yeah, well, I was saying this 3 years ago. We're wasting time here. That's the biggest issue that I have with the Giants. I think it's the quarter. You're right. Ultimately, a regime should be judged on the quarterback. But unfortunately, this one, however it happened, this was the quarterback they chose.
And I think you used the right word. We can't fully. I mean, you can. I don't agree with this. I would not absolve either men of Daniel Jones because they didn't draft him, but unless John Mara completely ignored, which I don't think he would do to that extent, because he didn't ignore it with Saquon, and he loves Saquon. If they said to him, listen, John, we maxed out what this young man's going to be. I mean, it's never getting better. We can't have him back. We can't give him $40 million. We have to find a new direction. And John's like, no way. Then John Mara is one of the worst owners in football. And I know he's not one of the best right now, but I also know he's not one of the worst.
I believe
that didn't happen.
I believe what they thought was that they can win some games, build back up the franchise to respectability, whether it's 10 games 1 year, 8 games, 9 games, whatever.
Yeah.
That they would win some games with Jones, build the team, start to win some games while looking for the next quarterback.
Unconventionally, not a top 3, top 5,
Correct.
Second round, late first. Yeah, that's interesting.
And then it went from road playoff victory in Minnesota to rock bottom again. And we've all seen it for longer than they have.
Yep.
And that's, I think, the problem.
All right, 888-808-1019, BT and South. By the way, do not forget, we'll do Yankees, and a lot of them coming up at 11 here. A little Judge, a little Boone, Garrett Cole, focus on them, Yanks, Dodgers. And Friday on the show, we will give you a chance. You've heard a lot about tickets here, and I mean, you can pay up the wazoo, unless, of course, you listen to us all day, every day. But Friday's the day to win tickets. All the shows, Boomer and Gio, me and Sal,